The great hall of the Galactic Council stretched out like a vast ocean of polished metal and glowing lights. Jake Morrison stood at the center of it all, feeling very small. Around him, creatures from dozens of different worlds sat in their floating chairs, watching him with eyes that held no warmth. Some had 6 arms, others had scales that changed color, and a few looked like walking crystals. They were all much more advanced than humans, and they knew it. Jake wore his best diplomatic uniform, but it looked cheap compared to the shimmering robes and energy fields that the aliens used as clothing. Next to him, Dr. Lisa Hamilton clutched a small device that held all the information about human colonies. Her hands shook slightly as she waited for Jake to speak. "Honored members of the Galactic Council," Jake began, his voice echoing in the huge chamber. "I come before you today representing the human colonies. We seek friendship and trade with your great civilizations." A sound like breaking glass filled the air. It was laughter, coming from the Velkari ambassador, the tall crystal being named. Dex Voller rose from his seat, his body catching the light and throwing rainbows across the floor. "Humans," Dex Voller said, his voice like wind chimes in a storm. "We have studied your reports. Your ships barely reach half the speed of light. Your weapons are metal projectiles fired from crude tubes. Your colonies number fewer than 50 worlds, and most of them struggle to grow food." More laughter came from the other delegates. The Trolaxians, who looked like giant insects with golden shells, clicked their mandibles in amusement. The Zephyrians, small blue creatures with large heads, whispered among themselves and pointed at Jake with their long fingers. Lisa stepped forward, her voice steady despite her nervousness. "While our technology may seem simple to you, we have successfully established colonies on 37 worlds. Our agricultural techniques have allowed us to grow crops on planets that were previously barren. We believe we can contribute to galactic civilization." "Contribute?" The Zephyrian counselors' voice was high and sharp. "What could dirt farmers possibly offer to races that have traveled the stars for thousands of years? Your fastest ships take months to travel between systems. Our vessels cross the same distance in days." Jake felt heat rise in his cheeks, but he kept his voice calm. "We may be new to space travel, but humans are quick learners. We adapt to new environments faster than most species. Our colonies have thrived in conditions that other races find difficult." This brought more laughter from the assembled aliens. A delegate from the Corvin Empire, a being that looked like a walking tree with silver bark, spoke up. "Thrived? You call barely surviving on the edge of civilized space thriving? Your largest colony has fewer than 2 million inhabitants. Our smallest cities hold more people than your entire species." The insults continued for nearly an hour. The aliens examined human technology reports like they were looking at primitive cave paintings. They mocked human fusion drives, calling them barely controlled explosions. They laughed at human kinetic weapons, saying they belonged in a museum of ancient warfare. They dismissed human defensive systems as metal plates and hope. Throughout it all, Jake and Lisa remained calm and professional. They answered every question, provided every piece of information requested, and endured every insult with dignity. They had been trained for this. Earth's government had prepared them for the possibility that humanity would not be welcomed with open arms. Finally, the council voted. The result was unanimous and humiliating. Humanity was classified as a minor species with limited technological development and no significant threat potential. They were granted permission to continue their small-scale colonization efforts, but were warned not to interfere with the activities of more advanced civilizations. "You may establish trading posts in unclaimed systems," Dex Voller announced, "but understand that any expansion into territories controlled by council members will be met with appropriate force. Your primitive weapons and slow ships are no match." for our technology. As the council session ended, Jake and Lisa walked slowly back to their ship. The New Horizon sat in the docking bay, looking tiny and fragile next to the massive vessels of the alien delegates. Its hull was scarred from long journeys through space, and its engines were already considered outdated by human standards. They think we're nothing, Lisa said quietly as they boarded their ship. Good, Jake replied, settling into the pilot's chair. Let them think that. He began the startup sequence, the familiar hum of the ship's systems comforting after the cold alien technology of the council chambers. As they pulled away from the station, Jake activated a secure communication channel. Earth Command, this is Ambassador Morrison, he said into the microphone. First contact protocols are in effect. The aliens consider us primitive and harmless. Recommend maintaining current operational security. The response came quickly, encoded in a frequency that no alien technology could detect. Understood, Ambassador. Continue your mission. The colonies are performing their roles perfectly. Earth remains hidden. Jake smiled as he guided the ship away from the massive space station. Behind them, the alien delegates continued their meetings, discussing trade routes and territorial disputes. They had already forgotten about the primitive humans and their pathetic little colonies. None of them suspected that Jake and Lisa were not from Earth's main civilization. They represented only the small frontier settlements that humanity had established as scouts and advance posts. The real Earth, with its 12 billion people and technology that made alien science look like children's toys, remained safely hidden in the Sol system dot as the New Horizon jumped into hyperspace. Jake thought about the magnificent ships that waited in Earth's secret shipyards. He thought about the weapons that could crack planets and the defenses that could stop entire fleets. He thought about the billions of humans who had spent centuries perfecting the art of war. Let the aliens laugh at humanity's primitive colonies. Let them mock human technology and dismiss human potential. They would learn the truth soon enough. But for now, Earth's children would continue to play their roles, appearing weak and helpless while they gathered intelligence and waited for the right moment. The galaxy thought it knew what humans were. Capable of doubt, it was about to discover how wrong it could be. 3 months had passed since the humiliating council session when Captain Amy Rodriguez received the transmission that would change everything. She stood on the bridge of the Liberty Bell, watching the stars streak past through the viewscreen. Her small trading convoy was carrying supplies to the New Haven colony when the message arrived. Unknown vessels. This is Valkyrie Fleet Commander Zex Thalen. You are traveling through Valkyrie space without proper authorization. Prepare to be boarded for inspection. Amy looked at the tactical display. 5 Valkyrie warships had appeared around her convoy, their crystal hulls gleaming like deadly jewels in the starlight. Each ship was twice the size of the Liberty Bell, and armed with weapons that could tear her vessel apart in seconds. Captain, said Lieutenant Ben Parker from the weapons station, we're severely outgunned. They're demanding we hand over 60% of our cargo as a navigation tax. Amy gritted her teeth. The supplies they carried were desperately needed by the colonists on New Haven. Medicine, food processors, and seeds for the next growing season. Without them, people would die. But the Valkyrie knew this. They were testing humanity, seeing how far they could push before the humans broke. All ships maintain formation, Amy ordered. Ben, what do we have for defensive options? Not much, Captain. Standard kinetic weapons and basic shields. Our armor is decent, but nothing compared to their energy weapons. The Valkyrie commanders. Voice crackled over the radio again. Human vessel, you have 5 minutes to comply. Surrender your cargo or face the consequences. Amy made her decision. All ships implement pattern Delta 7. We're going to show these crystal bullies what humans can do. What happened next surprised everyone, including Amy herself. The human ships began moving in ways that the Valkyrie had never seen before. Instead of forming traditional battle lines, they scattered in seemingly random directions, using asteroids and debris as cover. Ben Parker had studied every report about alien combat tactics. The Valkyrie were used to formal fleet engagements, where ships lined up and traded fire until one side retreated. They had never faced an opponent that refused to fight by their rules. "Target their sensor arrays," Amy ordered. "Make them blind." The Liberty Bell's kinetic weapons were primitive by galactic standards, but they were accurate. Ben's shots found their marks, damaging the scanning equipment on 2 Valkyrie ships. The aliens, suddenly unable to track the fast-moving human vessels, began firing wildly into empty space. "They're getting frustrated," Ben reported. "Their formation is breaking apart." Amy smiled grimly. "Good. Humans have been fighting guerrilla wars for thousands of years. Let's see how they handle hit-and-run tactics." The battle lasted for 3 hours. The human ships would appear from behind asteroids, fire a few shots, then disappear again before the Valkyrie could respond. Amy's convoy couldn't win a direct fight, but they didn't need to. They just needed to make the cost of victory too high for the aliens to pay. Finally, the Valkyrie commander sent a message. "You fight like cowards, hiding behind rocks and running." "From battle, we fight like humans," Amy replied. "If that bothers you, maybe you should pick on someone your own size." The Valkyrie ships eventually withdrew, but not before warning that this insult would not be forgotten. Amy's convoy continued to New Haven, their cargo intact but their secret partially revealed. Humans might be primitive, but they were not easy. Prey. Meanwhile, on the agricultural world of New Haven, Mayor Susan Clark faced her own challenges. The Tralaxians had arrived 3 weeks ago, demanding to inspect human farming methods. They claimed it was routine procedure, but Susan knew better. They wanted to steal humanity's agricultural secrets. The Tralaxians were masters of industry and manufacturing, but they had never learned to make barren worlds bloom with life. Their home planets were slowly dying, poisoned by centuries of pollution and overuse. They needed humanity's techniques to save their own worlds. "Show us your seed banks," demanded the lead Tralaxian inspector, a being called Crix Valor. His golden shell gleamed in the artificial light of the agricultural dome, and his compound eyes missed nothing. Susan led the aliens through the vast greenhouse complexes that covered most of New Haven's surface. She showed them the modified plants that could grow in low-oxygen environments, the soil treatment systems that could turn dead rock into fertile ground, and the water recycling systems that could support millions of people on a desert world. "Impressive," Crix Valor admitted. "These techniques could be useful to the Tralaxian Empire. We will need detailed specifications and samples of your modified seeds." "I'm sorry," Susan said politely, "but our agricultural methods are protected by human patent law. We'd be happy to discuss licensing agreements or joint development projects." The Tralaxian's mandibles clicked in anger. "You misunderstand the situation, human. This is not a request. The Galactic Council has classified your species as minor. You have no rights that we are bound to respect." Susan felt her anger rising, but she kept her voice steady. "The Council may have classified us as minor, but they also granted us the right to continue our colonization efforts. That includes protecting our technology from theft." 3 days later, Tralaxian ships arrived. In orbit around New Haven, they didn't land troops or fire weapons. Instead, they simply took what they wanted. Tralaxian infiltrators slipped into the agricultural facilities at night, stealing seeds, equipment, and data files. But the Tralaxians had made a crucial mistake. They assumed that human agricultural success was simply a matter of having the right tools and techniques. They didn't understand that it came from generations of experience, from an instinctive understanding of biological systems that no amount of stolen technology could replace. When the Tralaxians tried to implement human farming methods on their own worlds, the results were catastrophic. The modified seeds couldn't adapt to alien soil conditions. The water recycling systems failed without constant human maintenance. Entire crops died, leaving millions of Tralaxians facing starvation. The news of these failures spread throughout the galaxy, but the alien leaders didn't blame themselves. Instead, they assumed that humans had somehow sabotaged their efforts. The primitive dirt farmers were clearly more devious than they had initially appeared. Similar incidents occurred throughout human space. The Zephyrians attempted to seize human mining operations, only to discover that human workers could extract valuable materials from asteroids that aliens considered worthless. The Corvan Empire tried to force humans to share their terraforming techniques, but found that human methods only worked when applied by humans who understood the complex interactions between different biological systems. Each time, the aliens came away frustrated and angry. These primitive humans were proving far more difficult to control than expected. They fought when they should have surrendered, they adapted when they should have failed, and they succeeded where more advanced species had given up. Reports began reaching the Galactic Council about the human problem. The minor species that had been dismissed as harmless was showing signs of defiance. They were refusing to accept their place in the galactic order, and their unexpected resistance was beginning to disrupt carefully planned alien operations. The council members who had laughed at Jake Morrison's diplomatic presentation now found themselves discussing what to do about humanity's growing boldness. Some suggested offering better trade terms to keep the humans compliant. Others recommended more aggressive action to bring the upstart species into line. Unknown to the aliens, every human colony had standing orders to report any hostile action immediately. The attacks on human shipping, the theft of agricultural technology, and the attempted seizure of mining operations were all carefully documented and transmitted to Earth using communication channels that no alien technology could detect. On Earth, military planners studied each report with growing concern. The aliens were becoming more aggressive, and it was only a matter of time before they decided to make a more serious example of humanity. The carefully maintained illusion of human weakness was beginning to crack. Admiral Patricia Young reviewed the latest intelligence reports in her office deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. The aliens thought they were dealing with a few scattered colonies of primitive farmers and miners. They had no idea that they were actually testing the patience of the most dangerous species in the galaxy. How long before they escalate to open warfare? She asked her intelligence chief. Our analysts estimate 6 months, maybe less. The aliens are getting frustrated with human resistance. They'll want to make an example of us. Admiral Young nodded grimly. Then we need to be ready. The colonies are doing their job perfectly, but we can't let them be slaughtered for the sake of maintaining our cover. She activated a secure communication channel that reached every hidden military base in the Sol system. All commands, this is Admiral Young. Begin Phase 2 preparations. Our children among the stars are in danger, and we will not abandon them. The testing phase was coming to an end. Soon, the aliens would discover what humans were truly capable of. Fleet Admiral Keth Zoran of the Zephyrian Empire stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the tactical display with satisfaction. 200 of the finest warships in the galaxy surrounded him, their hulls gleaming with advanced armor, and bristling with weapons that could level cities. Today, they would teach the upstart humans a lesson they would never forget. Admiral, reported his tactical officer, we are approaching the Proxima Centauri system. Human research station. Detected in orbit around the second planet. Keth Zoran's large eyes gleamed with anticipation. The humans had been causing problems for months, refusing to accept their place as a minor species. their unexpected resistance to Valkyrie taxation, their protection of agricultural secrets from the Tralaxians, and their general refusal to bow to superior civilizations had become an embarrassment to the Galactic Council. "Excellent," the Admiral said, his voice carrying the authority of a species that had dominated this sector for 3,000 years. "Begin the attack. Make sure the destruction is complete. No survivors." The research station orbiting Proxima. Centauri B was small and appeared defenseless. Dr. Kevin Matthews had been working there for 2 years, leading a team of 50 scientists who studied alien technology samples. The station was supposed to be a peaceful research facility, but the aliens had decided it would make a perfect example. "Doctor, we're picking up massive energy signatures approaching the system," reported Lieutenant Danny Green from the sensor. "Station. It looks like a fleet of about 200 ships." Kevin felt his stomach drop. 200 ships meant this wasn't a random pirate attack or a minor territorial dispute. This was a full-scale military operation designed to destroy the station and everyone on it. "All hands, this is Dr. Matthews," he announced over the station's communication system. "We are under attack by a large alien fleet. Implement Phoenix Protocol immediately. This is not a drill." The Phoenix Protocol was something that every human facility in space had prepared for, but hoped never to use. It was a desperate last-ditch defense plan that combined everything the humans had learned about alien technology with their own innovations. Chief Engineer Rachel Stone ran to the station's main power core, her hands flying over the controls. "Danny, I need you to activate the electromagnetic pulse mines. We only get one shot at this." The mines were a human invention that the aliens had never seen before. They were designed to exploit a weakness that human scientists had discovered in standard galactic shield technology. When detonated close to an alien ship, they would create an electromagnetic field that could disable most defensive systems. "Mines are active," Danny reported. "But Rachel, there are 200 ships out there. We have maybe 30 mines." "Then we better make them count," Rachel replied grimly. The Zephyrian fleet approached the station in a standard attack formation, their shields glowing with energy and their weapons charging for the kill. Admiral Keth Zoran expected this to be a quick and easy victory over a defenseless human outpost. The first wave of mines detonated just as the alien ships entered effective weapons range. The electromagnetic pulses tore through the Zephyrian shields like tissue paper, leaving 20 ships defenseless and drifting in space. "What was that?" Admiral Keth Zoran demanded, his voice shrill with surprise. "Unknown weapons, Admiral. They appear to be some form of electromagnetic pulse device. 20 ships have lost shield power." Before the Admiral could respond, the humans struck again. The station's defensive weapons were primitive kinetic cannons that fired metal projectiles at incredible speed. Against normal shields, they would have been useless. Against unshielded ships, they were devastating. 3 Zephyrian vessels exploded in rapid succession, their hulls punctured by projectiles that hit with the force of small meteors. The remaining ships in the first wave scrambled to restore their shields while the human station continued its desperate defense. "Impossible," Admiral Keth Zoran muttered. "How can primitive humans be causing such damage?" The answer was simple, but would have horrified the aliens if they had understood it. The humans had been studying captured alien technology for years, learning its weaknesses and developing countermeasures. They couldn't match alien technology in raw power, but they could exploit its flaws with deadly precision. Dr. Matthews coordinated the defense from the station's command center, his calm voice guiding the desperate battle. "Rachel, concentrate. Fire on the ships without shields. Danny, prepare the next wave of mines for when they regroup." The battle raged for 3 hours. The human station fought with a skill and determination that shocked the Zephyrian fleet. Every shot was carefully aimed, every mine precisely placed. The aliens lost 47 ships before they finally managed to destroy the station's weapons. "Sir," reported Danny Green, his voice strained with fatigue, "we're out of mines and ammunition. They're moving in for the kill." Dr. Matthews looked around the command center at his team. These 50 scientists had just held off an entire alien fleet for 3 hours, inflicting casualties that would have been unthinkable just a year ago. They had done their duty, but now it was time for the final act. "All hands abandon station," he ordered. "Activate the self-destruct sequence. We're going out on our own terms." As the evacuation pods launched, Dr. Matthews remained at his post long enough to transmit a final message. "Earth Command, this is Dr. Matthews. Package delivered. Phoenix protocols are now active. The enemy knows we can fight." The research station exploded in a brilliant flash of light, taking 3 more Zephyrian ships with it. The aliens had won, but the victory had cost them 50 ships and thousands of lives. Admiral Keth Zorin stared at the wreckage in disbelief. "How?" he whispered. "How did primitive humans do this to us?" The attacks continued over the following weeks. The human colony on Tau Ceti was bombarded from orbit, its domed cities cracking under the weight of alien weapons. The mining operation on Asteroid Belt 7 was completely destroyed, its workers scattered to the void. Each time, the pattern was the same. The aliens would arrive expecting an easy victory over defenseless humans. Instead, they would face desperate resistance from defenders who seemed to know exactly how to hurt them. The humans always lost in the end, overwhelmed by superior numbers and technology. But they made the aliens pay dearly for every victory. Captain Tyler Woods died defending the transport hub at Wolf 359, his small fleet of cargo ships somehow managing to disable 6 Tralaxian cruisers before being destroyed. Mayor Jennifer Cole led the evacuation of New Boston Colony, her civilian defenders holding off Corvan. Ground forces long enough for most of the population to escape. The stories spread throughout the galaxy. The primitive humans were fighting back, and they were far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. Some alien leaders began to worry that they had underestimated this minor species, but the Galactic Council was satisfied. The human colonies were being systematically destroyed, their populations scattered or killed. The lesson was clear. Species that challenged the established order would face extinction. What the aliens didn't know was that every human colony had been designed to serve a dual purpose. On the surface, they were simple farming and mining settlements, but they were also intelligence-gathering posts, equipped with the most sophisticated listening devices that Earth could produce. For years, these colonies had been monitoring alien communications, studying their military tactics, and mapping their territories. Every time an alien ship entered human space, it was carefully scanned and analyzed. Every time alien officials met with human representatives, their conversations were recorded and transmitted to Earth. The destruction of the colonies was tragic, but it was also the completion of a mission that had taken decades to accomplish. The humans had learned everything they needed to know about their enemies, and now Earth was ready to act in the hidden depths of the Sol system. Admiral Patricia Young received the final transmission from the last human colony. The message was brief and encoded, but its meaning was clear. The masquerade was over, and it was time for humanity to reveal its true face. "All commands, this is Admiral Young," she announced over the secure communication network. "The children of Earth have fallen, but they have not died in vain. They have given us the intelligence we need to strike back. Activate Operation Homecoming." Throughout the Sol system, massive doors began to open in what appeared to be ordinary asteroids. Hidden shipyards that had been operating in secret for decades revealed their contents. Weapons that had been tested in the darkness between worlds powered up for the first time. Earth's true fleet began to emerge from its hiding places. Ships that made the largest alien vessels look like toys, weapons that could crack planets, and defenses that could stop entire armadas. The galaxy thought it had seen the best that humanity could offer. That it was about to discover how wrong it was. The trap had been sprung, and now it was time for the hunters to become the hunted. The aliens had mocked Earth's children and destroyed their homes. Soon they would learn why humanity had chosen to hide among the stars. The age of human weakness was over. The age of human vengeance was about to begin. Admiral Patricia Young stood in the command center of Earth Defense Command, 5 kilometers beneath the surface of the Colorado Mountains. The massive chamber hummed with activity as hundreds of officers coordinated the largest military operation in human history. On the main screen, tactical displays showed the positions of 3,000 warships throughout the Sol system. "Ma'am," reported Commander Kelly Martinez, "we've received confirmation from all sector fleets. Operation Homecoming is ready to commence." Patricia nodded grimly. She had been planning for this day for 30 years, ever since the Epsilon Eridani incident had taught humanity that the galaxy was not a safe place for the innocent. The aliens had just destroyed the last of Earth's colonies, thinking they were crushing humanity's spirit. Instead, they had triggered the awakening of the most dangerous military force in known space. "Open a channel to all fleet commanders," Patricia ordered. "It's time they learned the truth about what they've done." Captain Tyler Brooks stood on the bridge of the EDS Retribution, watching the final preparations for launch. The massive dreadnought was 3 kilometers long and packed with weapons that could split moons in half. Around him, his crew of 8. 100 moved with the precision of a machine, each person knowing their role in the coming battle. "Captain," reported his tactical officer, "all systems are green. Main cannon is charged and ready." Tyler looked out at the stars through the view screen. Somewhere out there, alien fleets were celebrating their victories over humanity's colonies. They thought they had won. They had no idea that they had just awakened something that had been sleeping in the darkness between worlds. "All hands, this is Captain Brooks," he announced over the ship's communication system. "Today we go to war. Not for conquest or glory, but for justice. The aliens who destroyed our colonies think they've beaten us. They're about to learn that they've only made U.S. angry." The truth about Earth was far different from what the aliens believed. The planet was not a primitive world struggling to reach the stars. It was a fortress, home to 12 billion humans who had spent centuries perfecting the art of warfare. Every continent held massive military installations. Every ocean contained hidden submarine bases, and every orbit was filled with defense platforms that could destroy entire fleets. General Nathan Cross coordinated the mobilization from his command post in the Australian outback. Around him, holographic displays showed the positions of Earth's 3 major fleets as they prepared for departure. The home fleet would remain to defend Earth itself. The strike fleet would attack the alien capital worlds. The retribution fleet would hunt down any enemies who tried to escape. "Sir," reported his aide, "the retribution fleet is ready to depart. Captain Brooks is requesting permission to begin the attack." Nathan smiled coldly. "Tell Captain Brooks he has permission to show these aliens what happens when they attack Earth's children." The secret of humanity's true strength lay in their history. While other species had achieved peace among themselves and turned there attention to the stars, humans had continued to wage war against each other for thousands of years. The Titan Wars, the Europa conflict, the Belt Rebellions, and dozens of other conflicts had forged humanity into the most effective military force in the galaxy. But Earth's leaders had learned from the Epsilon Eridani incident 50 years ago. Humans had made contact with the Epsilon Eridani civilization, a peaceful species that had welcomed them with open arms. The humans had shared their technology and culture, believing they had found friends among the stars. They were wrong. The Epsilon Eridani had betrayed them, selling human technology to their enemies and revealing the location of Earth's early colonies. The betrayal had cost hundreds of thousands of human lives and taught Earth's leaders a valuable lesson. Never show your true strength until you're ready to use it. Commander Kelly Martinez led the final briefing for her Special Operations Team. These 100 men and women were the best of the best, trained in infiltration, sabotage, and assassination. For years, they had been living undercover throughout alien society, gathering intelligence and preparing for this moment. Remember, Kelly told her team, we're not just soldiers. We're the instrument of Earth's justice. Every alien who participated in the destruction of our colonies will pay the price. No exceptions. The team members nodded silently. They had trained for this mission their entire lives. They knew the layout of every major alien facility, the weaknesses of every alien defense system, and the identity of every alien leader who had voted to destroy human colonies. As the Earth fleets prepared to depart, the aliens continued their celebrations. On Zephyria Prime, Admiral Keth Zorn was being honored for his victory over the Human Research Station. On Trolax, the leaders congratulated themselves on finally putting the upstart humans in their place. On Velkari, the crystal beings planned how to divide the former human territories among themselves. None of them noticed the small ships that had been hiding in their systems for years. None of them detected the human infiltrators who had been living among them, learning their secrets, and preparing for revenge. None of them realized that they were being watched by the most dangerous predators in the galaxy. The first sign of trouble came when alien communication networks began experiencing mysterious failures. Military commanders found themselves unable to contact their fleets. Political leaders discovered that their secure channels had been compromised. Defense systems that had protected alien worlds for centuries suddenly went offline. Kelly Martinez smiled as she watched the chaos unfold from her hidden base on Zephyria Prime. Her team had spent months infiltrating the alien communication grid, planting viruses and backdoors that would activate when Earth gave the signal. Now, the entire alien military was blind and deaf, unable to coordinate their defenses. Phase 1 complete, she reported to Earth Command. Enemy communications are down. Beginning Phase 2. Phase 2 was psychological warfare. Throughout the galaxy, every alien leader who had participated in the destruction of human colonies received the same message. It appeared on their personal communication devices, their command screens, and their private networks. The message was simple but terrifying. "We are coming," it said. "You destroyed our children. Now you will face their parents." The message was signed with the symbol of Earth Defense Command, a symbol that no alien had ever seen before. Panic spread through the alien leadership as they realized that the primitive humans they had dismissed might be far more dangerous than they had imagined. On Earth, Admiral Patricia Young gave the final order. "All fleets, this is Admiral Young. You are authorized to depart. Show them what humans are capable of." The departure was magnificent and terrifying. 3,000 warships, each one larger and more powerful than anything in the alien fleets, began their journey to the stars. Their hulls gleamed with advanced armor that could deflect any known weapon. Their engines produced energies that made alien fusion drives look like candles. But the most frightening thing about the Earth fleet was not their technology. It was their purpose. These ships were not going to war for conquest or resources. They were going to war for justice, and nothing in the galaxy could stop them. Captain Tyler Brooks felt the familiar sensation of entering hyperspace as the Retribution led the strike fleet toward Zephyria Prime. Around him, his crew prepared for battle with the calm efficiency of professionals who had trained for this moment their entire lives. "Sir," reported his navigation officer, We'll reach the Zephyrian system in 6 hours. What are your orders? Tyler looked out at the stars streaming past his ship. Somewhere ahead, the aliens who had destroyed Dr. Matthews and his research team were waiting. They thought they were safe in their fortified worlds, protected by fleets that had dominated the galaxy for millennia. They were about to learn that there were worse things in the universe than alien weapons. They were about to face the wrath of humanity. Signal the fleet, Tyler ordered. When we arrive at Zephyria Prime, we give them one chance to surrender. If they refuse, we show them why Earth chose to remain hidden. The Earth fleet continued its journey through hyperspace, carrying with it the hopes and anger of 12 billion humans. Behind them, Earth's orbital defenses powered up for the first time in decades. Ready to protect humanity's home world from any counterattack, the age of human weakness was ending. The age of human dominance was about to begin. The aliens had mocked Earth because they thought it was weak. They had destroyed humanity's colonies because they believed humans were primitive. Soon, they would discover that they had awakened something that should have been left sleeping in the darkness between worlds. Earth's children were coming home, and they were bringing justice with them. The Galactic Council was in emergency session when the impossible happened. Alarms screamed throughout the massive space station orbiting Zephyria Prime, as sensors detected the largest fleet in recorded history dropping out of hyperspace at the edge of the system. How many ships? Demanded Council Leader Vex Theron, his crystalline form flickering with nervous energy. Sensors are having difficulty getting an accurate count, reported the tactical officer, his voice shaking. At least 3,000 vessels, possibly more. They're larger than anything in our databases. On the main screen, the alien leaders watched in horror as ship after ship materialized in space. Each vessel was a kilometer or more in length, bristling with weapons that dwarfed the armaments of entire alien fleets. The lead ship, a massive dreadnought that stretched 3 kilometers from bow to stern, slowly advanced toward the planet. Admiral Patricia Young stood on the bridge of the EDS Devastator, watching the alien space station with cold satisfaction. Around her, the crew of Earth's flagship prepared for the battle that would reshape the galaxy. Behind them, 3,000 of humanity's finest warships waited for her orders. Open a channel to all alien forces in the system, Patricia ordered. Her voice was calm and steady, carrying the authority of a species that had finally revealed its true nature. The transmission cut through every communication frequency in the Zephyrian system. Every alien ship, every space station, every planet-bound facility received the same message. Patricia's image appeared on screens throughout the system, her human face showing no emotion except cold determination. "I am Admiral Patricia Young of Earth Defense Command," she began. "You have 1 hour to surrender unconditionally. Any ship that attempts to flee will be destroyed. Any station that powers weapons will be vaporized. Any planet that resists will be rendered uninhabitable." The alien leaders in the council chamber stared at the screen in disbelief. This was not the primitive human they had expected. This was something far more dangerous. "You destroy our colonies," Patricia continued. "You killed our people. You mocked our children and thought you could do so without consequences. You were wrong." Council Leader Vex Theron activated his own communication system, his voice shaking with rage and fear. "Human, you cannot threaten the Galactic Council. We represent dozens of advanced civilizations. Our combined fleets number in the tens of thousands." Patricia smiled coldly. "Your fleets are scattered across the galaxy. Ours is here, now, and ready to finish what you started. You have 59 minutes to decide." The alien leaders looked at each other with growing panic. Their own fleet, the pride of the Zephyrian Empire, consisted of only 800 ships. Even if they could somehow contact their allies, it would take days for reinforcements to arrive. "This is impossible," whispered Admiral Keth Zorin. How did primitive humans build such a fleet? The answer came from an unexpected source. Jake Morrison, the human diplomat who had been mocked and dismissed months earlier, stepped forward from where he had been observing the council session. "You want to know how we built this fleet?" Jake asked, his voice filled with quiet satisfaction. "We built it the same way we built everything else. Through blood, sweat, and the determination to survive in a hostile universe." The aliens stared at him in shock. They had forgotten that the human ambassador was still on the station, still playing his role as a representative of a minor species. "See," Jake continued, "you made a fundamental error. You assumed that because our colonies were small and primitive, Earth itself must be the same way. You never bothered to ask why a species capable of interstellar travel would send such poorly equipped expeditions to the stars." He walked to the center of the chamber, no longer the humble diplomat seeking friendship. Now he was the voice of humanity's judgment. "The truth is simple," Jake said. "We sent our weakest ships and our smallest populations because we wanted to see what kind of neighbors we had. We wanted to know if the galaxy was full of species we could trust, or if it was full of bullies who would attack anyone they saw as vulnerable." The alien leaders began to understand the trap they had walked into. The human colonies had not been attempts at expansion. They had been bait. "You failed the test," Jake announced. "Every one of you. You saw weakness and responded with cruelty. You saw vulnerability and responded with exploitation. You proved that the galaxy is not ready for humanity's true strength." On the tactical display, the countdown timer showed 45 minutes remaining. The alien fleet was trying to organize a defense, but their movements were clumsy and panicked. They had never faced an enemy like this before. Captain Tyler Brooks watched from the bridge of the Retribution as the alien ships attempted to form battle lines. Their formation was textbook perfect, exactly what any military academy would teach. It was also completely useless against human tactics. "Sir," reported his weapons officer, "Admiral Young is requesting a demonstration of our capabilities." Tyler nodded grimly. "Target the smaller of Zephyr's 2 moons. Full power, single shot." The Retribution's main cannon powered up, drawing energy from the ship's massive fusion reactors. The weapon was designed to crack planets, and a moon was barely worth its attention. When it fired, the beam of concentrated energy crossed the system in seconds. Zephyr's smaller moon simply ceased to exist. One moment it was a sphere of rock and ice orbiting the planet. The next moment it was an expanding cloud of superheated gas and debris. The shock wave from the explosion rattled windows on the planet's surface and sent the alien fleet scattering. In terror, 44 minutes, Patricia announced over the communication channel. "Choose wisely." The demonstration had its intended effect. Throughout the system, alien ships began powering down their weapons and transmitting surrender codes. The crews were terrified, but they were not stupid. They had just witnessed the casual destruction of a celestial body with a single shot, but some of the aliens were too proud or too stupid to surrender. Admiral Keth Zoran, the same officer who had destroyed the human research station, ordered his personal fleet to attack the human ships. "For the glory of the Zephyrian Empire," he shouted over the communication channel. "All ships, engage the enemy." What happened next was not a battle. It was a massacre. The Zephyrian ships, built for formal fleet engagements, were helpless against human weapons and tactics. Their energy shields, which could deflect most known weapons, were useless against human kinetic projectiles that hit with the force of small meteors. The human ships moved like dancers, their formations flowing and changing in ways that the aliens could not predict or counter. They had learned from centuries of warfare against their own kind, and they fought with a creativity and ruthlessness that the aliens had never encountered. In less than 10 minutes, Keth Zoran's entire fleet was destroyed, the Admiral himself. died when his flagship was torn apart by a human missile that somehow passed through his shields as if they were not there. 30 minutes, Patricia announced. The demonstration is complete. Surrender now, or join Admiral Keth Zorn in whatever. Afterlife awaits warmongers. The remaining alien ships in the system immediately began transmitting surrender codes. The space station that held the Galactic Council powered down its weapons and opened its docking bays to human boarding parties. But the reckoning was just beginning. Throughout the galaxy, similar scenes were playing out as human fleets emerged. From hyperspace around every major alien world, the Velkari crystal cities found themselves under the guns of human dreadnoughts. The Tralaxian industrial worlds watched in horror as human ships blockaded their planets. Commander Kelly Martinez led her special operations team through the corridors of the Galactic Council Station. They moved with the precision of professionals, securing key areas and capturing alien leaders who had participated in the destruction of human colonies. Target acquired, she reported as her team surrounded the chamber where the alien leaders were cowering. All primary objectives are in custody. The alien leaders who had once mocked humanity's weakness now knelt before human soldiers, begging for mercy they had never shown. They offered bribes, threatened retaliation, and pleaded for their lives. The humans ignored them all. Jake Morrison stood before the assembled alien leaders, no longer playing the role of a humble diplomat. Now he was the voice of Earth's judgment, and his words carried the weight of 3,000 warships. You mocked Earth because you thought it was weak, he said. You destroyed our colonies because you believed we were primitive. You killed our people because you assumed we were helpless. The aliens listened in terrified silence as Jake continued. You were wrong about everything. Earth is not weak. It is the home of 12 billion humans who have spent centuries perfecting the art of war. Our colonies were not primitive. They were intelligence-gathering posts that learned everything we needed to know about your capabilities and weaknesses. He gestured to the human soldiers who surrounded the chamber. Our people were not helpless. They were heroes who sacrificed themselves to maintain the illusion of human weakness until we were ready to strike back.